Good afternoon. It's time for another installment of Heritage and History with Maureen Taylor and Amy Johnson Crow. And Amy, we're both reflected due to all the snow in our area. There's this brightness coming at our faces, which is fabulous.
Yeah, there's all this snow. It's ridiculously cold, but it sure is bright.
And so we hope that those of you that still have power here on the East Coast are watching. And don't forget, because it is Be Live on Facebook, you can share questions with us and we can answer them live. You can send us questions about anything that we talk about, and we're more than willing to up for the challenge. Correct?
That's right.
All right. So we like to start our segment with news for the both of us, and we have a lot of news to talk about. I took a trip and had an amazing experience, and Amy has some DNA news to share from some big companies.
Yeah.
So let's just jump in. And I did not put this in the agenda, so I'm going to do that now. In the news. So what's in the news for me is that I took a trip in December to London with my daughter. It was our pretty much our first, trip outside the country for her. And it was wonderful on many levels, but right next to the hotel was a theater. And as we passed by on our way back to the hotel one night when we got completely lost in the neighborhood, I noticed that Hamilton was playing. And
like Hamilton the musical.
Yes, Hamilton the musical that you can't get a ticket for in New York if you even try, if you don't want to second mortgage your house for one. And I started to sort of hyperventilate in front of the theater. And she was like, "Mom, calm down. It's just Hamilton." I'm like, "You don't understand. I do Revolutionary War history. This is a huge deal." And I went back to the hotel and immediately booted up my iPad and said, "What are the chances that there might be a couple of tickets left?" I mean, because the last time I was in England and I met with a photo historian at the National Archives, and I started to talk about my Revolutionary War project, which is images of people who lived during the Revolution but lived long enough to be photographed. And I had said to the guy, I'd really love to find some British people that had served in the Americas. And he was like, "Oh, the American Revolution, such a small little conflict for us." And I thought,
Nice.
Okay, that's fine.
Wow.
But maybe a lot of Brits don't want to see Hamilton because it's such a small little conflict. And in fact, they had just released some extra tickets and we got them. And these Broadway plays are sometimes, just my personal opinion, I see a lot of Broadway plays with my mom because she loves them. And sometimes they seem a little overhyped to me. And I was really hoping Hamilton wasn't like that. And it wasn't. It lived up to everything anyone had ever told me about it. It was fabulous to see. And I'm sitting there and I'm thinking about Hamilton and I'm thinking about all the people that I have in my file drawer that I haven't researched yet. And I'm like, okay, 2018 is going to kickstart volume 3 of The Last Muster. It has to. Hamilton has got to kickstart this for me. So that's my news. It's not global news. It's just personal news. But it was pretty exciting. I'm pretty happy. And I go around the house singing the soundtrack.
Yeah, that sounds a lot like my house, and we haven't even actually seen Hamilton. But I mean, that sounds like a really great excuse to go back to London. I can't get a ticket here in the States, so I'll just go to London and see it.
Exactly. Exactly.
That would work. Yeah.
So what kind of news do you have for us today, Amy?
Well, I've got a couple of more, I guess you would call them global things. One of them is that I saw recently that MyHeritage just passed more than 1 million people in their DNA database. I mean, wow. Yeah, I mean, it seems like everybody focuses so much on ancestry DNA, but they aren't the only pond to fish in. I think that we need to be paying some attention to MyHeritage. And also the cool thing about MyHeritage is that in terms of their user base, they seem to have a lot more users in Europe and in other parts of the world besides just the US. So you might want to consider testing over on MyHeritage, and I bet you'll get some different matches than what you've seen over on Ancestry DNA. It's going to be an interesting time.
That's completely true. I have tested with MyHeritage, and I did come up with obviously brand new DNA matches, not necessarily people that have tested with the other companies. It's a whole new pool of people. And the percentages were a little bit different because, of course, each of the companies has a different test segment.
Right. That's
not exactly how they refer to it or not, but it's
like their reference panel of what they use for their ethnicity estimates. And yeah, that's always kind of fun to see what the differences are when you test at this company versus testing at that company. But it also points to the fact that ethnicity estimate, the key word there is estimate.
Yes.
It's not I am definitely, exactly 22% Scandinavian, which
exactly. There's a little wiggle room there.
There's definitely some wiggle room in there. But my other piece of news, and this is going to be a little bit dated if you are listening to this later, is that the New England Historic Genealogical Society, NEHGS, they are having free access to their databases through January 10th.
Oh, really?
Yes.
So that's great for anyone that wants to access New England research, their New England databases, but they have a lot more than New England.
They do have a lot more than New England, but if you do happen to have New England, definitely take a look over there. Those are free, again, through January 10th. And I think that's going to be how I spend a little bit of time. Yeah.
Well, we do have all this snow, Amy.
We do have all the snow, and as long as we keep power, we'll be good.
Cross your fingers.
I've
got my fingers crossed. I know there are some people in some southern towns or towns south of me that are on the coast where they're having 70-mile-an-hour winds today, and they're taking bets as to when they're going to lose their power. And I don't know why I'm only in half the screen. Here we go. That's better. Yeah. We do have a question or a comment from someone about the DNA.
Yes.
And actually, I want to thank one of our listeners today is Deborah Stock, and she's in England, and she on Facebook sent me basically an itinerary that I could have used for several days. And so, Deborah, we went with your plan for the most part. So thank you so much for that. And here's a comment on the someone, Nancy Roemer, said you can upload your data from Ancestry to MyHeritage.
Yes.
And that's correct. Yes. All the databases now share.
Well, pretty much. Ancestry is a little bit different, that you can't test first on MyHeritage and upload to Ancestry. Mm-hmm. Ancestry won't accept any uploads, but you can test first on Ancestry DNA and then download your raw data and transfer it to other sites.
Right.
And that's something that you want to do, because as the saying goes, the more ponds that you can fish in, the more fish you might catch.
Well, there's so many possibilities with the DNA. Yeah. And they are expensive. So maybe you only have the funds to test with one company. And that is a common question when we go to the conferences, is which company should I test with?
Yeah.
Because, funds are limited.
Right.
It's a rare non-professional genealogist who tests with all the different companies.
Right. But on the other hand, testing first with Ancestry, it's usually cheaper to transfer your results to someplace like MyHeritage or Family Tree DNA than it is to do a brand new test there. So
that's right.
So that can be a more economical way of getting things out in different places.
That's absolutely right. Right. A distant cousin of mine, I sent him a test with Ancestry, and then he uploaded the findings to another site for a fraction of the cost, and it was very helpful. So which database at NEHGS are you interested in looking at, Amy?
Well, it's honestly, it's been a while since I've gone over to their website because I'm one of those people. I surprisingly do not have any New England ancestors. My people are like Pennsylvania and South.
Really?
But I know. Yeah, I'm a very, mid-Atlantic kind of girl. So, but I do have a couple of people that I'm helping out that I think that they might have some New England, and I just want to go over there and play. And this is a great time to do it. Maybe I need to explore over there a little more often.
Well, we're always looking to explore.
Yes.
It's hard to find the time to explore, but when you do, you usually come away with not only an understanding of how that website works, but you usually find something useful.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. And what I like to do exploring is, they have this database for this location. I wonder if there's a similar type of record for a location that I need.
Exactly.
So it can also spark those ideas for more research.
Exactly. Yeah. It's never wasted. It's never wasted time.
Never.
We all just wish we had more time to do it.
Exactly.
So if you're listening to Heritage and History with Maureen and Amy, or Amy and Maureen, and you have a question, don't forget, you can post it on the Photo Detective Facebook page, or Amy, you're sharing this on your page as well, correct?
I am sharing this over on my page, so I have to be watching in two places, but yeah.
Perfect. And we have some other things to talk about as well.
We do.
Because we love heritage and we love history, that means we read a lot. We're not just noodling around on databases. So Amy, what's your book of the month?
My book of the month is Founder's Son by Richard Brookhiser. Founder's Son by Richard Brookhiser. It is subtitled A Life of Abraham Lincoln.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, and he takes a very interesting approach to Abraham Lincoln's life because 14,000 million biographies have been written about Abraham Lincoln. But what Richard Brookhiser has done is look at Lincoln through the lens of how he related to the founding fathers, how he drew inspiration from the founding fathers.
Cool.
So, how was he inspired by Washington and Jefferson and Adams and all of those? He also takes it a step further. In fact, I think that the book is actually kind of mistitled. I think it should have been Father's Son, because he looks not only at at Lincoln's relationship with the founding fathers, but also takes a look at Lincoln's relationship with his own father.
Interesting.
With his, biological father, but also then takes a step further and Lincoln's relationship to God the Father. And so you have all of these father figures going through Lincoln's life and how they influenced him and how he expressed that influence. And it's a really interesting take on it. It's a way that I had never thought about viewing Lincoln before.
Interesting. Very interesting.
Yeah.
So my book of the month, and please join us and tell us what you're reading. We'd love to hear what you're reading because we get ideas of new books to read. I'm reading something I picked up in England, The Essex Serpent, which by Sarah Perry. And I think I've read something else by Sarah Perry. And it's historical fiction, which is something I love to read. But Amy, not too many people know that I am also playing with writing historical fiction. And so everybody goes, of course, when they hear that. Is that a surprise? But the reason I started this book this week is because it starts on New Year's Day. The opening chapter is New Year's Day. And I thought, well, that's timely. And the reason I bought it in England is because it's an English publication that has become quite popular here in this country as well. But in England, when you buy a book that's published in England, the language hasn't changed to be Americanized. And it's very cool to, to read that English, those English terms.
Very cool.
It's very cool. It's fun. It's very fun. There's a serpent in here, obviously, somewhere, some monster that's come back. But it's historical fiction, so it's not that scary because I don't read scary.
Yeah.
So we have, oops, I forgot to put the name of the book. So I'm reading Essex Serpent.
The Essex Serpent.
I bought a whole bunch of books in England. My daughter kept asking me, was I going to buy any souvenirs? And I said, oh, we haven't been to the bookstore yet.
That's when you take an extra suitcase.
We did, actually, just in case. We brought a little extra carry-on just in case for that kind of thing.
That's what I do when I go to a conference. If that's what I do when I go to a conference. If I'm flying like to Roots Tech, I'll take an extra carry-on bag just in case.
Well, you never know what you're going to see.
Know.
Yeah, you never know what you're going to see. And as part of the Heritage and History, we like to talk about something new that we've used online, or a tool that we can't live without. And both Amy and I are on Instagram. So I'm going to load our Instagram page, or my Instagram page, and then go to Amy's.
Yeah, I love Instagram. I really do. It's just, it's fun. And it's fun, but yet you can still find some really cool things there. I follow different libraries, different archives, different historical societies, and you just never know what they're going to be posting. I think it's a fun way to share what you have. You don't have to be a blogger. You can use Instagram as a way of sharing your family history. In fact, there's a series of prompts that Instagram user Genealogy Girl Talks. She has a series of daily prompts, and it's genealogy photo a day.
It is so much fun. But it's kind of a way that, you can post a family photo, tell a little story, or if you're a blogger, you can show an image from one of your blog posts and tell people, hey, I've got a new blog post. But you can just go through, and Maureen is showing my Instagram feed right now. When you scroll through, I shared a couple of photos from Christmases of several years ago. One of my favorite pictures of my grandma and my grandpa, as grandpa was playing Santa. There.
Yeah, I love that picture.
That one.
I love that picture.
And then you use the hashtags as subject headings.
Yes. Yeah, and hashtags are super popular on Instagram. It really helps you find content so that you can find it even if you're not following that person on Instagram. So, in fact, I just did a blog post just today about using hashtags in genealogy.
There you go.
Yeah.
And then on my Instagram page, I've been showing photo detective tips. This one, the January, I've decided, is the month of the tintype. So most of what I'm sharing are tintype photos.
Fun.
And so this one's all beat up, but it's fabulous because you can see that you can follow the little dotted line and see that it used to be in a case. And then I use the hashtags. And if you click on any of these, if you click on, say, found photo, you click on any of the hashtags, you go to other people. Hopefully these are all appropriate. You never know. So maybe we should go back.
No, that one actually looked pretty good.
Yeah, you never know what you're going to see. But you can use this to share, as Amy does, to share your family photos, to tell a mini story or a micro story. And I did some of those too. And I believe, Amy, you've done some of those as well.
I have done some of those. And I just saw a comment from Nancy that she is taking part in my 52 Ancestors in 52 Weeks challenge. And she's using the hashtag 52 Ancestors.
So tell us more about your 52 Ancestors in 52 Weeks.
It's a challenge. It's a free challenge, and it's a series of weekly prompts. And the idea is to get all of us to do something with our genealogy and not just leave it in our genealogy software or leave it in our file cabinet. Write up something about what we have found. And when I say write, I don't mean like you have to write a book. It could be a couple paragraphs, or you could take a photo and just write, a little story about what this photo represents. Or you could make a scrapbook page, or it's just doing something with your genealogy.
Just do something.
Do something.
So it doesn't sit in a box. And
Exactly.
then at the end of your life, no one knows what to do with it, so they toss it. Right?
Yeah, exactly. And that's, we want to avoid that. We want to take it so that it's meaningful to somebody else who isn't as obsessed with genealogy as we are. And so it's meaningful for them so that they can relate to it, no pun intended, but also then to want to preserve it and not just dump it in a landfill.
That's right. That's right. Right, you're right.
So that's what it's about.
Once you build up your Instagram feed, there's always an app for everything, correct? So there is an app for you to publish little books based on your Instagram feed, and it's a website called Chat Books. And it's very cool. You just go in here, you add whatever you want to it. You can cut and paste from your Instagram feed. It's not the whole thing. And they have a whole line of things, designs by national designers like Kate Spade, for instance. But it's kind of fun. Take a look. And the pricing isn't too bad. So it's another way of creating a photo book, photo memory thing for relatives. And oh, look at this. Everybody's saying, I'm doing Amy's 52 Ancestors.
Yay!
I guess I'm going to have to do Amy's 52 Ancestors.
You really should. You really should. Yeah, I mean, it's free. The price is right.
Yeah.
And I've heard some people say, well, I don't know if I can make it through all 52 weeks. I look at it this way. Anything you do is more than what you had before. So it's progress.
Yeah, I don't know that I could stick with 52 weeks, but here's Wendy says that she's going to compile her 52 ancestors into a Shutterfly book at the end of the year.
Oh, that's a great idea.
That's a great idea. Because you've created a family history book.
Yeah, definitely.
With Amy's help.
I love that idea.
Yeah.
Well, and you could do the same thing with chat books.
You could. You do the same thing with chat books.
Yeah, if you have, there are a lot of photos that you're thinking about, you could take. Oh, I like Deborah's suggestion of taking photos of her family heirlooms.
Yes, I can't see Deborah. Oh, there it is. There's Deborah's comment.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a fabulous idea too. As long as you write down the family history.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be, I've helped individuals write family memoirs and family histories. And the hard part of the process is not coming up with the idea. We all have plenty of ideas on how we want to tell our family story. It's knowing when to stop and put it on paper or to put it in a final form. Yeah. There's that, but there's another discovery around the corner. Mm-hmm. But in fact, there'll always be a new discovery around the corner, and you have to just say, okay, I'm going to stop here and do this now. So what Wendy's suggesting and what Deborah is suggesting is just one piece, and they could do it again. So Deborah's working on her artifacts, and then the next time she's working on her photographs, and the next time she's working on the family history documents. Everything helps. It could be a series.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It could be. Or maybe you take a theme. Maybe you write, maybe you focus on the Civil War ancestors or the Revolutionary War ancestors, right. and you focus on them. Find a theme. Just, it's a matter of doing something. And I think that we as researchers, we are so trained to analyze.
Yes.
That when it comes to actually then doing something with our research, that we tend to overanalyze what we're going to do with it.
Well, we're also trained to just keep researching.
Yeah.
And as we all know, there's no end.
There is no end
to the research.
No.
You can always think of another way to look at something.
Yeah.
And if you can't, you can find someone to help you come up with new ideas to research something. That's what we do.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So I think that that's why we need to take the time to just take what we've done and get it into a shape that somebody else could appreciate it. Because if it all goes down with us, then what good was it? I mean, yeah, we enjoyed the process, but it really should, we should take the next step to get it to try to outlast us.
I totally agree. I totally agree. One of the saddest things is when was a couple of years ago at a conference. I forget where I was, Florida maybe, or one of the national conferences. It was one of the national conferences. And a woman came up to me and said that she lived in an assisted living facility in Florida. Mm-hmm. And when someone dies, they clean out the apartment. And in the apartment was a little zipper pouch, which I still have, of someone's, it's not that big, someone's family history research and all these family history photographs. And this person died without any descendants.
Oh, no.
And they said, you know, it was sad because they said, I can't throw it out. So we're going to give it to you, and maybe you can find a descendant in some line that might want that. And so I'm still looking, I'm poking around at it.
Wow.
Yeah.
How sad is that this person had taken so much time and effort to put all that together, and that could have so easily have just ended up in a landfill. Easily
could have been tossed.
Yeah.
By someone cleaning out the apartment with less of a genealogy background.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
So one of the people that have commented on our show is Sue Ann Reed. And she said one of her goals for this year is to go back and revisit some of her ancestors because it's been a while since she's looked at them.
Yeah.
And that's excellent advice. The databases are adding new information and new record sources all the time. And just because 5 years ago you couldn't find what you were looking for doesn't mean that document doesn't exist online now.
Yeah.
It's happened to me. It's probably happened to you.
Oh yeah. All the time. In fact, I was the last time that I was preparing to go out to Salt Lake, and I was actually preparing, ahead of time, making my to-do list, making my research list. And I went in to make a list of all of the microfilm I wanted to look at. I was like, oh, wait, that's been digitized. It's online now. Oh, wait, that's been digitized. It's online now. I don't need to get the microfilm because it's already online on Family Search. And
right.
Yeah.
Well, in my case, I was waiting for these documents I was waiting. I had a gatekeeper. You know what a gatekeeper is?
Oh, yeah.
Someone who won't let you look at the document. And she said, well, you have to prove that this person is dead before I can share the document. And I'm like, well, that's part of the problem. I can't find his death certificate, but trust me, he was born in 1865. He's dead. And she wouldn't share it with me. And then the records got digitized. And, 5 years later, there they were. I didn't need to go through the gatekeeper anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that everybody who was born in 1865 is dead by now.
I'm pretty certain of it.
There are a few things in life that I'm confident about. That is one of them.
Yes, I know, but she wouldn't let me have the record until I had a death certificate.
Oh, I hate that.
I hate that. I know you all hate that too.
Yeah.
So we're about to wrap up another installment of Heritage and History with Amy. If you haven't been able to watch this live, you can watch it on our Facebook page. So tell your friends. And you can send us questions in the comments, and we'd be more than happy to answer them. Our next Heritage and History, Amy, according to my calendar, is February 1st. Is that correct?
That's what I'm showing.
That's what I'm showing.
Yay,
so
we agree.
We agree, which is good. So join us then. Send us your favorite books. Send us some apps that you can't live without, and let us give them a test.
Yeah. Always looking for new apps.
Always looking for new things. All right. Thank you. Nice chatting with you, Amy, and all of you.
Always great chatting with you, Maureen.